Welcome to this topic on human factors, anthropometrics. You can read that, but it's about learning about anthropometrics. There are two kinds of dimensions that we use. One is structural and one is functional. And the static one is when we're standing still, and the dynamic one is when we're moving or in a working position. When we look at these classification tables, we've got to understand these were measurements taken from actual people, and these are the percentiles across the bottom. There's only three categories, 5, 50, and 95. And the majority of the people, as you would think, are in the 50 percentile that shows the combination of all the people, the average of the people, the statistics that were taken. So then the 95% would indicate, say, on height, that was the tallest people, and the 5% would be the shorter people. So here we look at the classifications, and we look at the body features and the measurements in inches. And we have the male and the female, and then we have the different percentiles that we can see there. And, of course, the stature is our standing height. And some of the items that do interest us are the knee height and the popliteal height, which is the vertical distance from the floor to the underside of the knee. And that is an important height because it gives us a comfort level when we're sitting in a chair. And of course, an elbow rest height would be something we would want to know about if we're going to design a chair. In this diagram, we can see where the dimensions are being taken from. And we have that popliteal height underneath the knee, and the shoulder width, and the elbow to elbow breadth, and the reach are very important dimensions. And the children's dimensions are different for up to 3 years, and then our adolescent years, and then our preteen and our teenage years. So here we see the men, and there's an 8.7 inch difference between those two. And so what is average? Well, average is a person who would be 68.3 inches, or 5'8" And who's these average statistics? It's of the people who were measured for this particular study. And then there's women's difference, which is slightly smaller at 8.1 inch difference. We have our intra-individual, which means as we grow, we change in our own anthropometrics. We go from a small person to a full-grown person. Then there's inter-individual, and that's in the middle there, which is just people from different races and genetics, basically, in their background. And then the third is when there's age differences among all humans, that older people are larger than children. Now we're looking at the chart from the book that shows a study in which 3 different nationalities were looked at, or cultures were looked at, white, black, and Japanese, and they examined the leg length of the femur, and that they found that the black percentile was up by 1.5 inches, and that is significant for a human. Now, when we're talking about using anthropometric data by designers, we want to see how we apply it. So the third column on the right is about applying the specific ideas. So let's take reach, for instance. In a bedroom, we would want to be able to reach our lamp by the side of our bed, so that gives into comfort. So that's the first line. And then efficiency, we want to be able to easily get into our doors and open our cabinets. And using this list will help you think about 4 different constraint areas that can lead to a better design. We're talking about workspace. That could be anything from a factory floor to, of course, an office workspace. It could be a kitchen workspace for that matter. So when we talk about that, we want to think about what is the most important thing that is happening in the space. Then there's the frequency of the space. What do you do and how do you use it? What is your job? And then the function principle is, what are the thought processes that go into it? What are the categories? What are similar things that you need to put together? And then the sequence, what do we have to do first or in second in order? And then in seating, it takes another dimension which is things such as posture of the person and how long is the person sitting there. Does that person have arthritis or something, or that limits them from getting up from the chair. So here's a couple of videos I'd like you to look at that's about how computers are starting to be used to help us understand the anthropometrics, and how that ties in to how people use the space and do their tasks.